friends. And we're on Usapang Fil Am, brought to you by Pinoy Life, your lifestyle and knowledge sharing channel. Magandang gabi po. On this last day of March, we pay tribute to fierce Filipino women who blazed trails and broke barriers. We believe that when women win, the whole world wins. We are streaming live on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/PinoyLife.net and on YouTube. Please go ahead, like, share, subscribe, Pinoy Life. Stay with us for the next hour. 3 lucky viewers will receive a gift from Pinoy Life. Ako po si Godinez. I'm Godinez, a U.S. immigration attorney, and with me tonight is my co-host, Noel Pangilinan. Noel?
Magandang gabi po. Kumusta po kayo?
Welcome to tonight's episode of Usapang Fil Am. Ako po si Noel Pangilinan. I teach Filipino language, history, and literature at the College of Mount St. Vincent in New York, and a senior editor for the Asian American Writers Workshop. I am excited for tonight's show. As a father of 2 daughters, I am constantly looking for role models for young Filipino Americans. And here we are tonight with a Filipina aerospace engineer working on NASA projects and a Filipino American author who wrote a book about her great great grandmother, who was known as the godmother, the ninang of the Katipunan. Chris?
Okay, so konting pakulo muna. Mga kaibigan, tonight is about fierce Filipinas or mabangis na Pinay. Now is as good a time as any to acknowledge the fierce Filipinas in our lives. May mabangis na Pinay ba sa buhay mo? Go ahead and write down her name in the comment section of our live Facebook show now. Feel free to say why she's your fierce Filipina or how she made a positive impact. Noel?
The U.S. Census Bureau tells us that although half of America's workforce are female, women are still underrepresented in the field of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or what is known as STEM. In 2019, women comprised only 20% of STEM workers. More in point, women comprise only 15% of workers in engineering occupations.
Joining us tonight is Arlyn Antonio Agasino. She is core engineering manager at Collins Aerospace, a global aerospace and defense company that works closely with NASA. Yes, that government agency that handles projects that are literally out of this world. Arlyn Agasino is also the president of the Filipino American Association of Engineers, with members based in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Arlyn Agasino, are you in? Okay, welcome to
Yay.
Usapang Fil Am, Arlyn.
Hello.
Welcome, Arlyn.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, may
I'm
I
so
just
excited to be
acknowledge
here.
your shirt is really cool. Can we focus on
Thank you.
that a little bit? Okay, there it is,
Of course.
feminist, which is the topic for tonight.
Mhm.
Noel, can you start the conversation about feminism?
Yeah.
Yes, Arlene. The US is arguably the most technically advanced country in the world, yet women comprise only 15% of the workforce in engineering. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, before I answer your question, first of all, I just want to thank you both and the whole production team for having me. It's really an honor to be here and talk about my professional and personal life. And I'm really thrilled to be here.
You're
So
most welcome.
thank you. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate, especially when I was still in school. I can remember most of my peers are guys, and there's a handful of girls who are in engineering. Um, I think the stigma that we have when, especially in the Philippines, when we're growing up, uh, it's sort of like stereotype female to take on courses that are more inclined to feminism or something like, oh, you have to be a nurse or you have to be a flight stewardess or something like that. But I think now that technology and especially internet and the world is getting smaller, the world has changed a lot, and there's still very few, but we're catching on. I can still recall the time when I first worked in the Philippines. There's also a few female engineers that are in my department, so I think it's just the way we were raised, I believe, the way there's a stereotype for female, and most female are probably not thinking about technology or building or cars. So yeah, that's
Yep,
probably why I
that's actually why we were wondering. I mean, particularly in my generation, I presume we were brought up to think that there are the hard sciences, technology is something meant for males, and the
yeah,
arts maybe for females.
yeah.
How are you able to break through the stereotype? I mean, what
Mm.
was the family setup or the environment like for you? Did you, just assert yourself, or were there members of the family didn't quite agree with your um,
Mm.
career choice?
No, it's just my passion to build something out of my hands or some materials that I have in front of me. But my biggest inspiration is my father. My father is a carpenter. Uh, he built our house.
Builders.
Yeah, he built cabinets, cabinetry, and I remember when I came from a humble beginning, so I remember when he was doing some art craft that he sells to high school. I was there while I was studying for my exam or my homework. Um, yeah, I see him build cabinets. I see him build houses. But to be honest with you, engineering was not my top choice.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yes, I choose to maybe I was thinking medical or law, but at the
Mhm.
time it can't afford at the time, and I said, well, there's a good school for engineering, and I want to try it there. And luckily, I graduated there with the top honors, and my dad was like, I
Awesome.
told you so. I said,
Wow.
okay, okay.
So the
So,
family was really supportive.
yes, yes, they're very supportive. They're very supportive. And, whatever my passion is, whatever I like doing, they kind of encourage it. You know, I'm not totally like only focus on buildings or um, STEM, but I'm
Right.
also doing other extracurriculars like do the dance troupe, choir in
Oh,
school. So I'm kind of more varied talents, if you
mhm,
will. So
mhm.
they support me on those. Um, yeah.
So you came to us from a work day, right? So
Yeah.
you work
Yes.
on projects that actually involve NASA, and that alone is something that will catch the imagination of many young Filipino engineers. Would you
Mhm.
please describe, in layman's terms, what is it exactly that you do at Collins Aerospace, or what the
Yeah.
typical work day is for you?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to talk about that for stuff that I can discuss. Given the nature of my work, unfortunately, I can't discuss in detail. But um, right now, I am the product design core engineering manager. Um, we build aircraft design for defense and commercial. but I just got promoted when you invited me over to be one of your guests. I just got promoted to this position, but prior to this, um, I'm involved in manufacturing flight hardware for the International Space Station for NASA. Uh, I am the one of the senior project managers there. There are engineers that are part of my team. So I have test engineers, quality engineers, manufacturing engineers, that help me support the manufacture of this flight hardware. So it's kind of cool. It's always nerve wracking to beat the deadline and all that craziness around this sensitive, very delicate hardware to produce, given that we are thinking our main focus is the safety of our astronauts that are living out there in the International Space Station. So you have to think about that all the time. You have to make sure that the stuff that you're making in the shop floor are all good quality, and delivered to the International Space Station. Actually, before I got promoted, one of my last projects, I posted that in my LinkedIn account. We needed to make another oxygen generating hardware because we need to replace it. So you could imagine the risk if we don't have that hardware there, right? So what we did is usually it's like a year to make this hardware, but because of we need to mitigate those risk, we turned those around in about 3 months. So
Wow.
we
Wow.
launched it in August, right in the middle of COVID. So I was so proud of my team, and we turned it around in 1/4 or 1/3 of the nominal time that we usually build hardware. They are
Wow.
safe, and now the astronauts were able to install them in the International Space Station, and they have air to breathe.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow. Oh, by the way,
Congratulations.
Arlene, can you describe to us your involvement in any project by NASA relating to what NASA calls putting boots on the moon by 2024?
Yeah, I was not directly involved in making those hardware, but I was one of the mentors for the NASA college aerospace scholars. So one of the challenges for this high school or college students, scholars, is to make a hardware that can fly to the moon and to Mars. So I was able to have involvement in that effort, and it was really cool. I have These kids are so out of this earth. They are so smart, and during those period that I was mentoring them, they have these ideas, and I give them problems. I challenge their knowledge in IA, and they were able to bring it.
Sorry, IA is.
Artificial intelligence.
Oh, oh
Yeah,
wow.
so
Okay.
those robotics parts that you put in the hardware
Okay.
so that
Artificial
they move.
intelligence.
You have to. There's so many people involved in one small hardware. If you could imagine, and I wouldn't even think about it. Even my passion is to be an astronaut when I was little. I wouldn't even have I couldn't even fathom the depth of what Collins is doing or what NASA is doing. And that's the reason why I got so excited to be talking with you tonight. I wanted to inspire a lot of girls out there. Um, don't be scared if you really like science or building something, go for it. Don't be
Yeah.
scared if people,
Yes.
oh, you're a girl, you're supposed to be just doing girl stuff. Just
Yeah.
follow your heart.
you earned your civil engineering degree in the Philippines and your
Yeah.
master's in systems engineering and technology management in the US. Can
Mhm.
you point to career highlights that led you to Collins Aerospace?
Yeah, I always wanted to try Collins or the aerospace industry. But because my discipline is structural engineering,
Right.
I got used to it. I got comfortable. I was like, should I try it or should I not try it? And my husband is already Collins employee, and he said, why don't you try it? So I have so many successes also as a structural engineer or civil engineer in my profession before I move and change gear and try aerospace engineering. But uh, part of me was also anxious. It was like, okay, I'm comfortable in this zone, but that's what I said to most of the students that I mentor. Don't be afraid to go outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I did, and I'm glad I did. And I didn't even realize that I can, make this product. Um, it's just your passion will guide you in your heart, and you know, intelligence is only secondary. It's really your passion that's gonna drive you to where you are and where you want it to be. And yeah, and that's the success of the projects that I did in mission systems uh,
Mhm.
is kind of like the testimony of that. It's
Okay.
your drive.
Arlene, going back to the fact that engineering is still a male-dominated field,
Hmm.
can you point to a particular incident or experience where you felt you had to do more or work harder to be acknowledged as a co-equal?
Yes. Unfortunately, it's probably just me. I'm not sure if it's just me or I don't feel like I'm intimidated or anything to that matter. Not at all. I don't have any particular incident when I feel like I'm discriminated against. No, I don't have those experiences. But because there are superior male that are already in there in this industry for a long time, you feel like I feel like I have to prove my worth, which shouldn't be, right?
Yeah.
um, if you're good, you're good, and you're good because you want to be good. It's your desire, it's your passion that you're fighting for, and your place that you're fighting for. And I believe every female, every girl has a place in any male dominated industry, especially engineering. It's one of the courses or one of the industries that is still male dominated, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like every girl, every female should fight for her place and assert that we women too can do what men or what our male counterpart can do.
Parts can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were looking at US Census statistics and they're saying just 15% of engineering occupations
Mhm.
are handled by females. So we were just
Mm.
surprised that it was to this day that low. And considering that we are in the most technologically advanced country in the world, at least
Mhm.
arguably so. So I was just looking at the picture that was put up on our live stream,
Yeah,
and it was the picture of the National Engineers Week on February 2019. And what
exactly.
struck me was that there are only three women, and I
Yes.
think you were the only woman of color in a field
Yes.
of what, 40 engineers?
Exactly. And that's the reason why I gave you that picture. I was gonna put a caption there. What what is wrong with this picture? I was
Yeah.
gonna say that.
Yes.
Right? What is wrong with this picture? Yes, unfortunately, we anywhere in the world, even if it's a powerful country, we're still catching on our ideology on equity, you know. So even in our company, there are still very few leadership that we are in, and I'm very very lucky to be in that position. Again, it's not easy. It's not an overnight success. You have to work for it, right? It took me what, more than 3 decades, 30 years to get to where I am, from my humble beginnings, from my school in Batangas State University in Batangas, when I was just dreaming. It took me half of the world to be here. And literally, you know, uh, longitude and latitude, right? Latitude meaning I came from the Philippines, going all the way to the world, to the globe, and now I'm here in the States. But in my first course in the Philippines, when my first work or job is to design those out, those platforms that we build in the middle of the ocean. And that's the reason why I say to people when they ask me, how do you summarize your career, your 30 years, 3 decades of professional life? I say, I started from digging the bottom or the deepest ocean to now exploring the endless
Yes.
space. So literally
Infinity.
latitude and longitude, that's how far I've traveled. That's how far, I have to go to get to where I am now. And to be honest with you, even from my childhood dream of being an astronaut, I probably won't set foot on Earth. Let alone I probably not leave the Earth stratosphere, But I'm happy because you know why? I'm this close to my dream and I'm good with it. I'm making all this hardware for our astronauts. They are using them. It sustains their lives and they're able to do multitude of experiments that you won't even realize it has a huge positive impact to our science in on Earth. So
Wow.
those experiments that they do there have tremendous help or effect on humans on Earth. So yeah.
And I find it really remarkable that, in blazing a trail, you are also trying to open doors for young engineers, young Filipino American female engineers. So much so that you are now president of the Filipino American Association of Engineers. So, what do you think should be done to encourage more females, more Filipino American girls to enter the exciting field of engineering? Can we pull up that photo of the
Oh
Filipino
yeah.
American
Shout out to
Association of
Maya.
Engineers? Yeah, there it is.
Thank you. I think most of them are watching right now. I sent them the
Yay!
link. Yay! Thank you. So
Yay.
this was taken during
Mm.
the election of officers, and I am so honored, um, to be elected the first female president of this amazing organization. We've been there for like more than 25 years. This is the 26th or 27th year now, and I'm the first female president. So as you
What?
can see, our minds are changing now. There's equity, right? There's diversity. So and we are welcoming female in this industry, but this Filipino American Association of Engineers, our main goal or project is to help students that are in the Philippines that are very smart but unfortunately don't have the means to go to college. So what we do here as an organization here in New England, so this is New York, Connecticut,
New
and
Jersey.
New Jersey, but there are also members who are in the Midwest,
Oh,
So, and our virtual seminars can reach the Philippines also. We open it to participants that are in the Philippines. So we um, we raise funds, we do activities that uh, we gather sponsors to help us fund these students. Right now we have 10, and I think there's a few students who are already a graduate of engineering in the Philippines. So I'm very, very proud of being part of this organization. But like I said, I don't only get busy with my professional life and my personal life, but my main goal is to encourage kids, and that's one of my efforts is to provide lectures or to mentor students, you know,
Yeah.
robotics and NASA, because I want them to realize that this is for everyone. This is
Yes.
for all to take. If you want it, you gotta do what you need to do.
Yes.
And I believe that my immortality is that people will remember me not only as a NASA aerospace engineer or Collins aerospace engineer, but also a mentor. And that's
Wow.
really one of my biggest privileges is to be mentoring these students. I was there when they were just forming their dream, and that's really very special to me. So,
Wow.
Yeah, since you mentioned mentoring,
mm,
you also mentioned during our uh, talks before the show that you also mentored your daughter's high school robotics team,
yeah,
right? That was
yes.
Wow.
that was the robot that you paraded during the Philippine
Oh,
Independence Day parade.
yes,
Can we
yes.
pull up the photo?
Yes.
And how was it? I mean,
Yay.
can you tell
Oh,
us
that
about
was
interesting
amazing.
events during those mentorships?
Those were amazing. I mean, these girls. It's an all girls robotics team, by the way. The one and only. I think
Whoa.
one or two of the only female, all female robotics team here in New England. Last before COVID, this was taken before COVID, and they won the national championship here in Connecticut. And that's the reason why I said, wait a minute, there's a parade in New York. Let's showcase their ingenuity, right? So
There
we
you go.
brought all the way to from Connecticut all the way to New York. This the one that has the 3654. That's their winning robot. So
Wow.
if you go to FIRST, that's the first robotics competition that we go every year. Um, it's kind of like a competition. It's really cool. They match the robots and they are given challenges like shoot balls or something like that, or defend your territory. But it's really cool. You should watch those competitions online. They have some clips that you can browse in YouTube.
Wow.
This other robot is just a display robot, and this is a big hit for kids in New York when we did a parade. The kids are like, "Oh, robot! It's really walking by itself, but it's being controlled by one of our team of our girls." Team member, it's being controlled, but of course the kids are not thinking about the remote
I
control.
know.
So we're at the back, so they're like, oh, I want to take picture with the robot. So
Wow. So Arlene, knowing what you know now,
mm,
okay, after your career
mm,
still unfolding and blooming,
mm.
what would you tell the young Arlene Antonio about her dream of becoming an engineer?
Oh gosh, I would tell her, hold on to your dream.
Uh,
Hold on to your dream, because it doesn't matter if it's 10 years, 20 years. It took me forever to fulfill my dream. I'm still fulfilling my dream, to be honest with you. But that's what I'm going to tell myself, is to hold on to your dream and fight for what you like to do. Because I'm just one of the very, very few who can say deep in my heart that I love what I do and I do what I love. So, yeah, I mean,
yes.
just go for it. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Uh, don't be intimidated, because we are equals. But like I said, um, even if, being an empowered woman, I always say, you know, although I have my place here in the universe, I always respect the strength of my male counterpart. I always have that. Even if I know that, oh, women can do better than men, but it's just friendly
But they
competition.
do. But
Yeah.
we can.
Anything we do, we can do better.
I mean, that song wouldn't come about if it wasn't true. But you know what? Thank you so much, Arlene, for sharing
Yeah.
your time with us and sharing your journey. I
Thank
mean,
you.
I can only thank you for blazing the trail for the young Filipino Americans who will in the future be taking that path. And thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. And it's been a blast talking to you and having the opportunity to talk to many people, your audience.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Arlene.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat,
Salamat.
Eileen. I mean, your story of, breaking the glass ceiling, breaking the bamboo ceiling is so inspiring. So maraming salamat for your time.
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Good night. By the way, Usapang Fil Am is being streamed live on Facebook and YouTube. Tonight's episode, featuring Fierce Filipinas, is brought to you by Kababayan Media, Philippine Daily Mirror, the Law Office of Cristina Godinez, Design District Studios, and Lead Consulting. Invite your friends to like, share, subscribe to Pinoy Life on Facebook and on YouTube.
It is at this point that here in Usapang Fil Am and Talk of the Town, we express our solidarity with Asian Americans and the Filipino American communities in condemning the unrelenting assaults against Asian Americans, most recently against our kababayans.
Just last week, two Filipinos, one 73-year-old and the other 53-year-old, were brutally attacked in Midtown Manhattan just one day apart from each other. Since last year, there have been 34 assaults against Filipinos. This year alone, there have been 7 recorded attacks against Filipinos in New York. We join the Asian American communities in demanding for safer streets in New York City and elsewhere in the United States.
Okay, mga kaibigan. Keep those fierce Filipina names coming on our comment box as we stream live on Facebook. Go ahead and write down on the comment section the name of the fierce Filipina in your life. You can add what makes her a fierce Filipina or what positive impact she has brought about. Noel, let's introduce our next guest, author of the book Fierce Filipina, a biography of the godmother of the Philippine Revolution.
Our next guest is Maxie Villavicencio Pulliam. She wrote the book that is an illustrated biography of her ancestor, Gliceria Marella de Villavicencio, known as Aling Eriang. She is a fierce Filipina who contributed her family's resources, her time, and knowledge to support Filipino revolutionaries who were fighting the Spanish colonial rulers. Maxie is joining us from Southern California. Welcome to Usapang Fil Am,
Welcome,
Maxie.
Maxie.
Having me.
Okay, welcome, Maxie. So, I understand you were in the Philippines in your mother's hometown of Taal, Batangas, sometime January 2020 when you came about with the idea of writing the book about your great grandmother. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes. So Taal Batangas is actually our ancestors' hometown because my mother and her siblings grew up in Makati. But we did decide to assist my local family members with the disaster relief efforts shortly after, like you said, the Taal volcano eruption that took place in January 2020. So here in the States, prior to me flying out, uh, I was able to collect a bunch of monetary donations, while over in the Philippines, my family collected in kind donations. And my family members deployed their staff members to mobilize multiple teams to go out into the different shelters and provide necessary goods for daily living, such as baby diapers, water bottles, canned goods, just anything under the sun that they needed immediate access to continue with their health and safety while looking for a safe place to stay. So during my trip, which actually took place in February 2020, that's when I revisited our ancestral homes, which have been converted to museums. And growing up, I always knew that our ancestral homes were open as museums, but I never totally understood why, or it just dawned on me. I thought that was kind of a normal Filipino thing, that everyone just had these ancestral homes that other people could visit. And it's a museum. It didn't really connect. I live here in LA, living my own life, trying to get my education. So when I visited the ancestral home, Casa Villavicencio, which is her main one, for the first time in my adulthood, that's when things started to click to me of like, holy smokes, my direct ancestors had an active role in serving their people, their fellow Filipinos, as I call them in the book, and really go against the Spanish and American colonists and really fight for themselves and fight for their freedom and fight for their rights. As I maybe mentioned, I am very serious when it comes to my career in education. I have a master's degree in social work as well as a license in clinical social work with the state of California. So advocating for people, especially those who are not of privilege, is an extreme passion of mine. So when I realized that I had that connection to my ancestors, it made me more curious about what sparked their interest. What was it? What did they have? What could they gain for themselves, right? Like there has to be an ulterior motive. If you're going to give all this money to the revolution, there has to be something in it for you. There wasn't anything in it for them. In fact, it actually tore their family apart in terms of, my great-great-grandfather was incarcerated. His body broke down and subsequently he passed away. My great-great-grandmother, who this book is about, she really just poured herself and gave every part of herself to the revolution and to the revolutionary forces, to the point that I don't totally know what she was like as a mother. So there were definite sacrifices, but to them it was all worth it because their love for their country was not ever enough.
Thanks, Maxie. Oh, by the way, any reason why you chose to write this book as an illustrated biography?
Just seeing the amount of children and families into all, and comparing that to how frequent her name was coming up into all in terms of her name is the main road, her monument is there, Casa Villavicencio, the wedding gift house, they're prominent pieces of protection of the town. I wanted a visual for the kids and families to see and really understand why her name is the main street, why she has the monument. I wanted some bold colors to match her passion for her contributions. I really just wanted the kids to know that she fought for them and she loved them. And even though she's passed on, everything that she did over 100 years ago was for them. So I just really wanted to impress that upon everyone through the illustrations and through the color and the boldness of it.
Yeah. So Maxie, when you were going through, were in the process of writing the book, what for you was the most touching or the bravest deed that your great-great-grandmother did?
I think the amount of money that she gave away is a pretty big deal, but truly it was giving up the love of her life, which is her husband. And if you'd like, I'm happy to read an excerpt. I'm not reading the whole book because I do want to encourage viewers to purchase it. You can Google Fierce Filipina or you can buy it on Amazon, whatever.
I have the book.
Whatever is easiest for you, please do buy the book. We could use your support, but I would love to share an excerpt to help demonstrate everything
Right.
that I'm talking about right now. In fact, I'll go like this. So, the Spanish colonial authorities confirmed Eulalio's revolutionary activities. They arrested and imprisoned him in the old Bilibid prison in Manila. Gliceria traveled to Manila to fight for Eulalio's release. The authorities used her visit as an opportunity to bargain with her. They offered to release Eulalio, but only if Gliceria revealed the secrets of the Katipunan. Glyceria's breath deepened and her heart began to glow. Her inner voice said, "Fierce are those who are brave, fierce are those who are strong, fierce are those who stand up for what's right even when things go wrong." She knew what she needed to do. She needed to be a fierce Filipina. Gliceria refused their offer. She told the Spaniards, "I love my husband as few wives can, but I would consider myself unworthy of carrying his name if I will obtain his freedom at the expense of his country's blood." The Spanish authorities released Eulalio a year after his arrest, but his body had broken down from being imprisoned. He died 3 months later.
Oh my.
Oh.
Wow. That's really powerful. As far as I can gather, your great great grandfather Eulalio is actually a Katipunero,
Mhm.
right?
He was a member, correct?
Yeah. So I was just looking up the history, any information about your Lola Gliceria, and it seems that she worked hard for Philippine independence. She did not stop when the Americans took over from the Spaniards. So on the day of the declaration of the first Philippine Republic, the first president of the Philippine Republic actually named her Madrina General de las Fuerzas Revolucionarios, Godmother General of the Revolutionary Forces. So how does it feel to know that your ancestor, your great great grandmother, is part of the birth of the Filipino nation?
Yeah, it gives me chills actually, because it empowers me, not just as her descendant, but as a Filipina, to know that I could do, maybe not to that level, but absolutely close. For me, I feel so honored to be a descendant of hers. I personally believe that she's passed on her passion to us in our family through our DNA. I really hope to do her legacy justice in the work that I do as a social worker. And if I can't meet it halfway, hopefully I can meet it at least a quarter of a way. But I do recognize the value that she brought to the Philippines. I think it's also really cool that she's a woman. She was respected and never questioned because she was a woman. Of the limited research that we do have on her, I guess what's been written, let me put it that way. Nowhere there is there any evidence that she got pushback, or that she was looked down upon. She had direct communication with the leaders of the revolutionary forces. We still have those letters. They're hung on the wall. They're framed. Jose Rizal respected her to the point that he gave her, I guess, a balikbayan gift, if you will, when she was respected. She was revered. She never really had to say, "Hey, consider me part of your club." She was part of the club, and people really relied on her.
Yeah, I think the fascinating thing is that we're learning about female Filipino heroes just now. I mean, can we show the portrait of your great great grandmother? I just found out from you that this was a portrait done by Juan Luna.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you are.
With Maxie.
Oh, that's great. Okay, I thought I was looking at myself for a second when I was still skinny. So Juan Luna did paint that. He also painted Eulalio. His signature is on the bottom right-hand corner. Now, the story behind this is that Juan Luna gave it as a gift to say thank you, for their efforts, of course, but also he stayed at Casa Villavicencio. So he was a recipient of their hospitality.
Oh, speaking of hospitality, your ancestral home was actually the secret meeting place of the revolutionaries,
The
including
Katipunan.
the General Miguel Malvar, Andres Bonifacio was there, and the other fighters against Spanish colonial rule and later against the Americans. So that's a piece of history that should be spread and shared with the younger generations. It's amazing. So
By the way, Maxie, now that you have written this book, is there another project coming?
I would love to see this on the big screen. I have a day job, so I've not yet taken the time to, find a way to develop that somehow.
yes.
But I do have that on the bucket list. In fact, when somebody asked me what my what do you call it? My wishes were for the new year. I said I want this to be a cartoon of some sort. I wanted to see this, on the big screens, not just in the US, of course, but all over. Kind of like an Encanto or a Coco with Disney.
That would be great. Yes.
Let's put it out there. Who knows? Somebody will pick it up.
Okay.
It could be short. It could be a short animated feature. I'm okay with that too. But I would love to see it in a live action format.
Okay. You said earlier that there's already plans for a Filipino or Tagalog edition of the book. How's it coming along?
I need an intern. If somebody would like to be my intern, great experience, but I can't pay you. I would love an intern because I still need to get copyright protection for the Tagalog version. We have the translation. I just haven't gotten it copyrighted yet. So if anyone wants to be an intern, I am a somewhat kind boss and can work around your schedule.
Okay, can you tell us where we can follow you on social media?
Absolutely. I could use the followers. So you can follow me at Fierce Filipina on Instagram. When you go on the Instagram, there's a link in bio, which if you press it, it'll pull up all of the different resources. So we have the link there for folks in the Philippines who want to get a copy. We have the Amazon link. We have the Barnes and Noble link. I've done some other press tours, if you will, virtually. And so there's links on there to view that as well. And Instagram is pretty much the place to keep up to date with what's going on with all Fierce Filipina developments. But can I also ask for folks who do purchase the book, we love it when you tag us to your photos. A lot of people, a lot of readers and kids, they take pictures holding the book and a selfie, and then they add us on Instagram. We want to see you having the book. We really totally realize now that representation matters.
Yes.
When the book first came out, I got a lot of text messages saying how heartwarming, I guess is what it was. It was for little Filipino girls to have a book or to have some sort of picture where the main hero or heroine looked like her. They could relate. They had somebody to look up to. I, as you also mentioned, am disheartened, disgusted, overwhelmed. Sometimes I numb out when I think and hear about the vitriol taking place right now with the Asian American community. The data that you mentioned earlier, those are just reported incidents. So if we think also about those that go unreported, we probably, our breath would just have a hard time maintaining itself. I really do hope, and this was not necessarily my initial reason for creating the book, but I really do hope now that Glyceria's spirit, story, the book could be used to really just bring solace, bring us confidence that we too could advocate for ourselves and rebuke Asian hate. I will be completely frank in that I don't know the answer. I don't know how to best go against Asian hate. All I know is that we have to do it and we have to come together to do it. It is incumbent on us as Asians living in the US to show our true colors and to let us and to let folks know what we're worth. So I want people to know that even though Gliceria may not be, in their direct line, if you will, in terms of their lineage, Gliceria is in all of us Filipinos. So please know that my family and I are sharing her spirit with everybody else. We need this type of inspiration and advocacy right now.
True.
Okay. Salamat, Maxie. We need more fierce Filipinas among us right now. Oh, by the way, 3 lucky viewers will get an autographed copy of Fierce Filipina tonight. So, salamat ulit, Maxie, for joining us tonight and sharing the story of the Fierce Filipina, of your life, of your family, your Lola Eriang, Gliceria Marella de Villavicencio. Chris?
Thank you, Maxie. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, did you write down on the comments box the name of your fierce Filipina? Sinulat nyo na ba sa comments box ang pangalan ng mabangis na Pinay sa buhay nyo? So, Usapang Fil Am is being streamed live on Facebook and on YouTube. Join us on April 28th, Thursday. That's 4 Thursdays from now at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific for Talk of the Town. I'll be sharing information on temporary working visas in our immigration segment. That's the H-1B visa that's widely used by professionals, including essential healthcare workers like nurses, physicians, or physical therapists. Noel, what's coming up for Rewind on Philippine American history or Talk of the Town?
For Rewind next month, we'll talk about what went down in Coney Island in Brooklyn in 1905. In 1905, an Igorot village was set up in Luna Park, where tribespeople from the northern Philippines were put on display to perform dances and rituals to justify the United States colonial rule in the Philippines.
Kung merong paksa na kailangan talakayin, pag-usapan po natin. Email info@pinoylife.net or chris@pinoylife.net for topic suggestions. Go ahead, like, share, subscribe to facebook.com/pinoylife.net. Noel?
We'd like to thank our guests, Arlyn Agasino, Core Engineering Manager at Collins Aerospace in Connecticut, and Maxie Villavicencio Pulliam, author of Fierce Filipina, an illustrated biography of the godmother of the Philippine Revolution, Gliceria Marella de Villavicencio.
One final note, the Pinoy Life website is now live. Please go to www.pinoylife.net to access our Talk of the Town and Usapang Fil Am episodes. You can also just listen to the episodes on podcast mode. Kaya wala ng FOMO.
FOMO? Ano yun?
FOMO, fear of missing out.
Okay.
So if you like the content on our website, feel free to click the donate button so we can continue doing this for you. You can catch up on community events, care of Kababayan Media, news, care of Philippine Daily Mirror, Filipino-American history and contemporary issues with Noel Pangilinan, and immigration information you can use with yours truly, Attorney Chris Godinez. Hanggang dito na lang muna tayo. Kita-kita tayo ulit para mag-usapang Fil Am.
Salamat at ingat.